The thing is कि when we are talking about privilege, let's first discuss what is privilege.
How much of the privilege that I have earned are due to my efforts, and how much of it are due to where I started from.
To be born into the household that I was born in, that was a privilege. I will say financial privilege can take over all other privileges.
It's often possible that one enjoying the benefits of a privilege might be blind to it.
It is basically to suppress a separate group from an showing an individual group that they have a higher rank in the society.
Speaking English is a privilege. It is it is nothing but what do you say, remnants of our colonial rule, I believe.
Hi guys, welcome to DYNT. Welcome to our lifestyle podcast channel. Today we're going to talk about privilege, which I'm told is a very sensitive topic, and the panel would be extremely diverse, as you will probably see when we talk about that. But before that, subscribe to our channel, guys, and go to our documentary platform, the YouTube channel. The links are in the description. Watch our videos. Do like, share, and subscribe if you like it. Comment on it and let us know how you feel like. Today we're going to talk about privilege. We're going to talk about as a very diverse panel of heterosexual, mostly upper caste Indian males. I think we deserve the right to speak about this topic, and
Because we are the most privileged ones.
because we know it, what it feels like.
Two of our Brahmins. So just like starting off with that.
Just not any Brahmins, Kulin Brahmins. I'm not sure what
Oh my
Kulin
god.
is, but
That's like
Kul is in. So
awesome. You guys got it.
should we look at a document first? What is privilege? Because
No,
I don't know.
let's
Anyway,
we can look at the document. Can
Can
we
we-
try to like understand privilege by just discussing amongst each other first, and then
Okay, so-
let's start with the document. Whatever you prefer. Sorry, I didn't mean
no,
to
no,
interrupt.
you go ahead. What is privilege to you, Mota? What is privilege to you?
Okay, for me, the word privilege, there are like two ways of understanding it. One is the part that you inherit,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have a choice over. Like, for example, in a world where we do not have uh, gender equality, it is a privilege to be hetero male, for example.
Yep.
But I didn't have a choice to be or not be a hetero male. So I was born a hetero male, or I was born a male, and then I found out that I'm heterosexual. So that is the
Yep.
part which is probably inherited privilege. I grew up in a upper middle class household, which is also not my choosing. I could have grown up in a millionaire's household, but I grew up in an upper middle class, which is not up to me. So there's a lot that is there in our body and life that are privileges that we inherit. And I also think it's
Yep.
important to recognize that there are privileges that we earn. And in earning those privileges, for example, getting an education, getting a master's degree, being an architect, or pursuing a PhD program, pursuing a career of an educator, a professor. Those are privileges that I am earning. Now, I think the political question is what we have today is that how privileged are we? I think the importance of the question is that how much of the privilege that I have earned are due to my efforts, and how much of it are due to where I started from. So, how much of my inherited privilege have given me kind of an advantage in earning the privileges that I've earned? I think that's
I think
that's where my interest is. That how much is myself and how much is my title and my body and my sexuality and my gender. So I think that's what we're trying to discuss. So, for example, Devjit, Nirmala, both of you are in a graduate program in a American university. How much of it is your own achievement, and how much of it is because you are Kulin Brahmins or whatever?
because part of it is because how much of it is because my mom thought that getting his son into an English medium is probably better and sacrificing certain aspects of her life. Like
Mm-hmm.
how do you measure it? How do you do it? It's very that's probably the apt question that you've put. But like, how do you do it, Nirma? Do you have any statement about it? Okay, how much of it is because you are a Kulian Brahmin? And how much of it?
No, basically, I only realized that I am a Brahmin when I talk to people and people point it out to me, because being Brahmin never helped me a lot. Yeah, that might have given me a like a sense of hierarchy always in the society, or maybe while talking to someone they give me like, yeah, you are a Brahmin. So but that doesn't help me a lot in my career journey, or rather in my upbringing or anything like that. But yeah, we faced a sense of security in the society always, and
Mhm.
we got
True.
some respect from the society. Maybe if someone comes into our house and they just tell us, "Yeah, you people are Brahmin," so all those kind of stuff. But in career journey or in life, it doesn't help me to be where I am now. To be a Brahmin doesn't help me really,
Mhm.
because my father is a government employee. He got the job uh, by his own means, and not for being Brahmin. He got that job. I studied from DAB Model School, so that is a that believes in like Swami Dayanand Saraswati. They don't do idlership. So over there also, I didn't got any privilege to be a Brahmin. And after that, I joined a government university by studying in through an entrance exam. And there also, I was not there because I am a Brahmin. So currently, I'm pursuing masters in USA. That also I had to go through GRE and all. So being Brahmin never helped me to be privileged. Yeah, to be born into the household that I was born in, that was a privilege, I will say, because my parents could admit me to a convent school, and later on I could carry my career journey like that.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying that on the outset, it doesn't seem that being a Brahmin has helped me because helped us because of the fact that we probably grew up in a sort of pseudo, but okay, fine, like communist society had a sort of like some of its like attributes reflected on that Bengal. There's a upper class, lower class thing. There's a Borlok, Chotolok thing in Bengal among Bengalis, but there is not a caste thing at in the cities. But we have grown up in cities. We have grown up in Durgapur, city town, whatever, and we I'm grown up in Calcutta. So it's like, but if we have grown up, if we like, that's also a privilege. Like my parents probably moved there, probably, and but then when you consider, and probably then stay in a rural society where my grandfather was probably spent most of his life. So, but if I am stating that as a privilege, also it like I am looking down on certain things, I am looking up on certain things. So that aspect comes as well. That if my parents moving to city and me being taught into an English medium school is a privilege, and you're saying that you are disrespecting the fact that you're thinking that people who speak Bengali uh,
Yeah,
are not privileged or are not there's that aspect as well. And talking about that, Bala, what do you think on that aspect? Do you
Yeah, exactly. Like speaking English is a privilege. It is like it is nothing but what do you say, remnants of our colonial rule, I believe. Because speaking English, it should not be looked upon as being superior, because in India we have so many languages, and English should be a sort of a binding language and not looked upon as something which when you master, it should not be looked upon as something that gives you privilege. But yeah, today that is the scenario. If you back in India, if you don't speak good English, you are looked down upon. This should not be the case. So, uh, like from what I believe right now, our regional languages are much more enriched than English. But still, right now we are communicating in English, right? So that the majority of
and that's
our audience.
that's something that I wanted to mention with your point that but like speaking English along with the regional language does give you a privilege because the international language for scientific journals is English.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that
English is the
shouldn't
international
be the
language. You
case.
code in English.
That's
You code in English. So you'll have so certain things. What I am trying to, I think the question when I think Homoput was that the fact that we have are being able to pursue a graduate study in American university, how much of a privilege, how much of it was for our own effort or how much of it was for our privilege. The fact that we have been taught in English medium schools has
it is
probably helped in
privilege.
that privilege. That's where the whole point came, right? And like that is a privilege that I didn't control. I like even if I say that yeah, you can learn English and you can't. It's like I mean it's very I mean it's hundredfold stuff to probably learn English at an older age and then crack GRE and then be here. So like certain things, even if I say that yeah, and that learning in that environment also gave me certain allowed me to mix with a group of crowd that probably has the same background and that probably helped me. So I mean even if our caste or our like certain efforts, even if we had a lot of put in a lot of effort into this, certain things really like we didn't have any control over. Zishan, you're the only we are talking about education, but you're probably in India, you're a Muslim male. You probably have a different aspect to talk about when we are talking about privileges. But still, how do you see this topic?
Uh, no, so the thing is, ki when we are talking about privilege, let's first discuss what is privilege. According to, I was listening to all of you as Somo, Nirma, Bala, everybody, they mentioned different points, right? So, like
Yep.
Somo mentioned something about how privilege is currently working and what are the functions of it. Nirma basically talked to the point of his personal life, how he has been through. How privilege has or has not affected from the point of caste specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Nilendu mentioned about language, right? So clearly we have this idea that privilege can be of different aspects. It need not to have to be of individual topic, right? So when we are talking about privilege is basically something. I'm not a very much expert in this topic, but from my point of view, it seems to me that it can be in between different areas, maybe in terms of education, maybe in terms of language accessibility, maybe in terms of understanding people, psychology. It can be anything. Okay, so from my point of view, it actually depends on your uh, location where you are and how the surrounding nearby you is. So it actually takes me to a time when I remember that I was in office and I was discussing this specific topic which we are currently discussing, that most of my colleagues, they were really afraid to accept that they were privileged. So I think it's deeply entrenched within them that if I accept that yeah, I am privileged, then people might think that I have done nothing in my life. Okay, so
Yeah.
this point I want to bring here, that this actually doesn't help. It actually is helping to create a segregation within the society. So what is the basic idea of privileges within a quoted umbrella term? It is basically to suppress a separate group from an showing an individual group that they have a higher rank in the society. They possess a certain amount of sort of they are more superior to other beings. It may be in terms of race, it may be in terms of your speaking ability, in terms of your financial status. It may be anything. But the point here is that if you are not acknowledging it, within a given circumstances, then I believe it doesn't help, and it actually promoting so-called this stigma of the society. So yeah, that is what I think, then.
I think Mota,
I
I think you should have a point in it. I could see from your
yeah,
facial
no,
expression that you have a point
I
in
listened to
it.
no, I think this is really a very interesting and engaging conversation. Definitely, I was listening carefully to Nirmalo, Bala, and Zishan, and I think that one thing that I think we should try to recognize is that it's often possible that one enjoying the benefits of a privilege might be blind to it. I'll give you a
Mhm.
very simple example. Having eyesight is a privilege. Like
Yeah.
having working eyes. When I
Right.
use the word blind, we don't know what it is like to be blind, right? Whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage is a different debate. But you wouldn't understand that you have a privilege unless it's taken from you, and that's in with my own life. I have understood that being a Bengali in Calcutta is a privilege because that is the language of the city, right, or the dominant language. I understood that speaking Bengali is a privilege in Calcutta when I moved to Delhi, where people don't speak Bengali. And there I had to kind of struggle with Hindi because that's the dominant language of conversation. Yes, my privilege of being rather fluent in English helped me here in the United States. But if I wasn't, and many of my colleagues aren't, as comfortable in English as I am, they might not get a job, they might not get hired, they might not be able to follow the assignments or the lectures and different accents of different kinds of professors. So yes, like Zishan said, there are many dimensions through which privilege can happen, right? Like having a so-called abled body is a privilege to start with. You might get born in this society, and that is also not your choosing, with certain what we call today as differently abled configurations, right? And
Yep.
those might, and for a long time in our society, those were stigmatized, and they still are in different parts of the society. But maybe we have come up with certain political configurations where we do not, at least directly, stigmatize those conditions. And today in the United States, you have accessibility as a particular criteria in architectural design where you have to give ramps, you have to make sure that people who are commuting with wheelchairs. So
Yeah.
here's the thing: unless you are on a wheelchair, you would not understand what is the privilege to have two legs to walk on,
Mhm.
right? So oftentimes the way it works is that you have a lot of privileges but you are blind to them because that's the normalized structure within which you operate,
Yeah.
right? So I am from an upper caste family. I am from an upper middle class family. I am from a, I think, sixth or seventh generation learning family. So, like, my six generations before me were educated. I have gone to a really well known school in South Calcutta, and I've gone to a really well known university in Calcutta, and then in Delhi, and then here in Illinois. So, I would never know what it is like to be not educated and what the world would be for me if I did not have this education. Right? So it is difficult. It is definitely a difficult thing to identify what exactly are my privileges, right? It's definitely a
Yeah.
privilege to be white in the United States, and it is definitely not a privilege to be non-white in the United States, right? In Delhi, everyone is brown, so you don't know that, right? So it really depends. It's not like there is no racism in India. Indian society also has very many racist issues. There is a relationship. I think that can be the next topic of discussion. Is that there is a
Mhm.
relationship between your privileges and the majoritarianism that is there in the particular cultural, social geography that you're operating from. So privilege is contextual, very much. So what I'm trying to say is that being Bengali in itself is not a privilege, but being Bengali in Calcutta is a privilege. Being Bengali in Pakistan might not be a privilege in terms of language, right?
Yeah. Being anything in Pakistan is not a privilege. But anyway.
No, but you see
But
my
I don't
point
know,
that
like
it
that's
might
how
be
he
about
perceive, right?
the ethno-linguistic group you belong to. It might be about your race, your skin color, your gender, your sexual orientation. It can be also your financial status, and I think financial status is one of the main things that we somehow need to really have a focus on. It's like all other privileges. For me personally, I think the financial aspect is one of the major markers of where a human being is. Yes, there are many dimensions of privileges, and unless it's very ironic that we only recognize them once they're taken away from us. And unless they're taken away from us, we are not forced to recognize them, which is why it is important, like what Zishan said, that one needs to make an effort to acknowledge those.
Financial privilege can take over all other privileges. If you don't have some kind of privilege, if you have the financial privilege, then that can like solve the problem of all other being unprivileged. Like if you don't have a privilege of going to a good university, or a privilege means to going to a high university, or if you don't have a privilege of have a reservation in the society, then you can like with money you can go to a bigger university, in a private university, and you can get your job done with money.
Yeah,
And
in a
if you
capitalistic society,
yeah,
that's
and if
probably it.
you suppose you don't know how to speaking a good English, you can take a good course in any of the online platforms these days, 10, 20, 30,000 rupees, and you can like start learning English. But one who don't have that privilege of money, they cannot do anything like in the society.
Yeah.
So
I think
financial,
capitalism has been there for like I think 150 years or something, and then like probably a bit more of whatever. And then like our social relationships have now been defined by capitalism, right? So now
yeah,
financial privilege has probably taken over. The fact that we have as upper class Brahmins we were talking about, we didn't realize that we weren't caste conscious, right? So we didn't realize that the fact is because capitalism, our socialism has already been defined by capitalism. We know that okay, fine, he has money, so I don't care whether he's a Bina or a Banerjee or
yeah,
a whatever. He has money, so whatever. I don't care. Like okay, so he speaks Bengali and all. That's probably a connectual thing. Like he can connect with us. He can connect when I say that okay, when I like okay, East March and whatever. I think we have talked a bit about fish in one of our podcasts, and I don't think I want Bugsy Chan with that again. But anyway,
But the one way of tackling this thing is to when we are you know we are basically not in this meeting. If one of us in future if we are talking about privileges with a group, then initially people will be obviously spectacle about talking about their privileges. But if you start talking about your privileges, that
mhm,
I have this privilege and I actually feel guilty about it, and if you start the conversation like that, they
yeah,
I have noticed that they at that point of time they do not hesitate to join that conversation. That's the
mm,
thing. At that time they think that, oh, so I have this thing but I haven't acknowledged this. Then they would definitely try and try to associate with your story. So this is a whole lot of psychology, how
yeah,
initiate your conversation with people.
mm,
Maybe if if for example if I am sitting in a group of minority, specifically if we are talking about our privileges, or maybe what things we have and what things we didn't get as a child, people
yeah.
usually try to join you in the conversation, and at that moment of time they also realize things which they haven't realized before.
What we should do is like we have the privileges, right? So we cannot just throw them, chuck them away overnight. And even if we
Because we
do
love
chuck
ourselves.
them away,
No, no,
We can
you
die.
even
don't have to
We can
throw
decide.
anything or
no,
sort of. You
no, no,
you don't feel
that's what I'm
guilty
telling.
about that you have a
No, yeah,
privilege,
yeah,
right?
that's
You
what I'm
don't feel
telling.
guilty,
We
and
have the
don't.
privileges, so we have to use them, right? And down the line, possibly like 20 years down the line or 30 years down the line, we should at least use our privileges to uplift the underprivileged. At least if
Right.
each of us just aim to like support two, like make it a point to support
At
two,
least a guy, one person only. That
that
would
two
eventually
person,
work.
then the entire scenario is going to change. But
I know,
unfortunately, that doesn't
but
happen.
I think more important than going towards uplifting from privileged a single unprivileged person. Okay, that's okay financially, but then the
Not
social
financially,
stigmas
not
of the different
financially.
perspectives we did talked about. Okay, you're saying like trying to brainwash the two into
No,
seeing
no,
this
not.
world that we see of
I'm saying not only
it's a
financially,
brainwash nonetheless.
not only financially, in a multi-dimensional way. Like, okay, fine, providing
Trying to
finances
see
is
them
one
the
of the way.
perspective.
Yeah, but yeah, it might be the case that you are providing the finances to uplift the person, and that person turns out to be some very male chauvinist, and
Turns out to be Bin
like,
Laden. Let's say. Who
yeah,
knows?
sort of, or
I don't
somebody,
know. I
or
Is
don't
the question the privileges of being Bin Laden? Let's discuss on that.
He was actually very privileged.
He was very
He was
privileged. He
What
was
actually
he
very
very,
was?
very,
privileged.
very.
I mean,
He was a nut job. He was a nut job. So yeah. So I think he gets what he
Yeah, he
wants.
was very privileged to have 40 wives also.
He
Soberner
has 40
seated.
wives. So he has
So
40 wives. I don't think it a privilege. To be very honest, like I don't know, 40 wives. I can just
yeah,
probably handle
yeah.
one. I'm
I
pretty sure
being
I will not
married,
be able
being
to.
married, I understand that. Like 40 wives are really
And
tough. Yeah.
I mean, that's a separate issue. We should probably respect him. But like, how do you do it without being a tyrant that he was? Anyway, uh, that's been great. Do we have anything else to talk about? There's a lot of to talk about. I don't think that
No.
there's these
It's a
these things.
never-ending topic. You
No.
can't,
It's a never-ending
finish
topic.
it.
Yeah, we would love to have
no,
more
I
people
mean, we
here.
should at least, guys, we should at least recognize the privilege that we have to talk about privilege
Yeah.
on a Sunday
Yeah,
morning.
No,
It's like,
we
oh
are
yeah,
on a
you know
privileged.
Sunday
what? We get a
morning.
lot of privilege. Like, this is
Yeah,
okay. No, I appreciate the effort here. No, I genuinely do. But also, it's like, I don't feel guilty about it at all. I don't think I feel guilty about my privileges, but I do feel like, what Bala said in very practical terms. What do you do with the privilege that you have?
no,
What can
you
you
know,
do? Because you can't, acknowledging your privilege doesn't make them go away, and they won't make them go away, right? Because there are so many of them.
there's this called American Disability Act, which I'm studying right now. That's what I know this thing. It's like American Disability Act in 1990. It got changed in 2008 and it got updated. It's about they what the act document says. It's very formal. It's very Western. They say that we have to provide reasonable accommodation. You do little things that probably doesn't harm you much to do, or doesn't cost you much to do in a lot of ways, but probably turn out to be a game changer for some other things, like a curb or like probably a ramp instead of a stair. It's not like much. It helps everybody. It not just helps the person who is disabled or the person who's in a wheelchair. Yeah, so you don't lose much and they gain a lot.
Who is this person? I mean, I appreciate that, but I don't see
Rizvi
any
बोल रहा
name.
है
I think whoever it
Rizvi.
is by the smiley, they might be pissed off.
Yeah,
Shomo, draw us a conclusion. I think the audience wants this.
yeah, okay. I'll do my best. I think that it is great to have this conversation because we know each other for 11 years,
Yeah.
right? We know each other very closely for 11 years. We met in 2010 when we started our journey together in B College. And strangely, today, four of us are in the North America. Zishan is in India. But the point is that we have lived the last 11 years. I think the beginning of this last decade, I did not have much knowledge about what is privilege, but in this whole experience of going from different places to different places, I have kind of had that understanding. And today that we are having the discussion is very important to me. So I think we have a long way to go about understanding privileges. And then the question, what do you do with the privilege in itself, becomes another question about what you do with your life in the end. Um, we were born and brought up in an environment that was rather competitive. And we were taught by the system, at least in West Bengal, at least in India, that you have to be competent and you have to win and you have to be the first person to get a rank, get into an engineering college, we were driven in that mechanism, which is, we may refer it to a rat race, we may refer it to a lot of other things, that getting an engineering college or getting an architecture degree, then getting a job, there is this like set goals which defines your life, and you have to move through that. So use your privilege. You have them, you don't have them. What matters is that you get into a good college, right? That was primarily what we were schooled, the way schooled. So from there, standing today, that we are kind of looking back and acknowledging that being a heterosexual male was indeed a privilege. I think this is quite an important thing to do. I think it's profoundly important. So I do not have a conclusion today, because I don't think we are in a position to conclude anything. But I think this is just an initiation of, I hope this is an initiation of many further research and talking to each other and acknowledging that, yes, we are a bunch of privileged dudes because we are heterosexual males from South Asia. And I think that in itself is a good thing. But we have a lot to do after. Like, there's a lot of work left. রাত খেলে চলবে না, আরো কাজ করতে হবে। সেটাই বলছি।
বলিস না।
হ্যাঁ। So that's my conclusion.
It's great. Any last words from anyone else? Nishant?
I think the conclusion is really difficult to arrive at, but the idea we can take up from here is that we sort of should challenge the status quo and understand the difficulties of other people, and ask ourselves that how privileged we are and what we can do for the society. So I think by asking questions to ourselves, it will might improve the situation. But as Somo mentioned, that it's a very big thing. A lot of research has to be done, and we have to think very liberally for approaching those results. So it will take time, but for the time being, we can ask questions to ourselves and look around us and do whatever we can. That's the point I want to add.
Great point, Sishan. I'm muting you because you are like, there's a lot of noise in your background. Bala.
Yeah, so deliberating, researching, yeah, it will, or of course it will change the mindset of the society and our social structure in the long term. But yeah, I being a little bit more practical, would just end this discussion by requesting everyone who is watching and everyone who is privileged to at least try to affect two lives of underprivileged, or whom we think who are underprivileged, and try to like uh, better the lives a little bit, I guess. That's it.
That's
If
it.
each
Great.
each one of us just try to affect two, it will, in the longer term, it will like affect
दो बूंद privilege की.
yeah.
Okay, Nima.
In my opinion, DYNT is doing a great job, and we discussing this. 5 people is watching us. That is good, but in my opinion, yeah, what Bala said, that we should like affect two lives with our privilege, and by doing something for that. Then, but I feel that if you can educate some group of people, education can only get you there where other privileges can't. So it might be caste is privilege, or maybe financial, or maybe what kind of disability, whatever you have, if you are underprivileged. But if you can educate people of any society or any focus groups.
Thank you, guys. Do share this if you want to show this to anyone, what we have talked about, if it was valuable to you. Otherwise, do follow. The links are in the description. Do go to our channel, like, share, and subscribe if you like, and obviously comment and tell us what you feel like. If we had been wrong in certain places, do point us out. We would like to. This is just a discussion, so just like feel free to say whatever you feel like. We'll be back with probably I don't know which topic. You guys have to decide, but we'll be back another episode doing this. Keep watching. Take care.